Welcome back, everyone. Still on the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. I am now being joined by Akinsiju, Chairman, Independence Media and Policy Initiative. Good evening to you, sir. Thanks for joining us this evening.
It's a privilege. Thanks for having me.
Right. So much has been said about the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. From your own perspective, how much of a game changer is this project?
I think it's a major game changer. It's like opening up a new dimension in the economic space, creating a new economic asset-based ecosystem, as it were. My commonplace analogy is an understanding of the Lekki Peninsula. What had become of the Lekki axis. In the Nigerian economic asset space, especially if you're talking about landed property, beach lines, and all that. I recall that so many years ago, our first introduction, my personal first introduction to the Lekki axis of Lagos State was just soon after the construction of the Lekki Coastal Road, by the then governor of Lagos State, Alhaji Jakande. Nobody knew what Lekki was, more or less, how do I call it, an uninhabitable area. It was not accessible and all that. And the best we could do as very young people then, when we're looking for fun, during Easters and during Yuletide and all that period, was to go to the Bat Beach on the Victoria Island, and the Bat Beach was very, very popular until the opening up of that space. And all of a sudden, we had opportunities for so many beach resorts and beach creation, creative spaces and all that. So, and as that place, that axis was opened, we started seeing new influx of people into that axis, new inflow of investment, inflow of buildings and constructions and all that. And before you knew it, the axis became a major economic zone, not just in terms of residences, but actually in terms of the value of the land. The landed property, became premium, in that axis. Now, the imagination for me is that we're going to have an extension of about 700 kilometers of that kind of experience that we had with Lekki, because it's actually an extension of that coastal road, as it were. So, so you can imagine what happened to the Lekki axis happening in 700 kilometers of virgin area, virgin sphere of our land space, opening up that 700 kilometers, especially in terms of the extension. If you are looking at the blue economy, extension of 200 nautical miles into the sea, to your right at all times, and 250 meters of land inward the hinterland. So it is like opening up a new economic zone, for the country. So for me, it is an exciting time. It is not just about construction. It is actually about constructing an economic space. And to that extent, I think everybody should be excited that there is a government in place that has this kind of vision and that it's willing to drive it. Some people had actually questioned why the immediacy, why the urgency in starting up this project. And I was like, it is even un-Nigerian. We don't usually have this kind of pace in terms of triggering and the kind of construction speed. We don't usually have this. We always have time after procurements, processes and all that. There could be a 6 months period before the construction person move to site. But now we are seeing a very fast movement, speedy construction. We can even visualize how the whole thing can be from the first phase. I think this is a good thing for the country. It is opening up the economy, building new, I mean, the basic thing, the basic definition of an highway, it is about an economic linkage. So if you're talking about economic linkage, we are talking about an economic linkage across 7 littoral states. Economic linkage across 700 kilometers of road. And how many communities will now be opened up in that axis? How many opportunities for real estate, that will be provided in that axis? How many opportunities for hotels and 5-star guest houses and all that will be opened up in that axis? How many opportunities for tourism that will be opened up in that axis? How many opportunities for ports that will be opened up in that axis? You can go on and on and on. And even from day one, anybody who understands even the basic idiosyncrasies in economy will tell you that once the construction effort starts anywhere, it has started an employment engagement in that area. So even from day one, with the construction ongoing now, there are hundreds of direct and indirect employment opportunity that have been engendered, by that construction.
All right. Now, before I take you up on the position of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar on this project, there are those who have raised concerns about the impact on coastal cities of rising sea levels. I mean, they've talked about erosion and climate change. Lagos is particularly at risk from rising sea levels. Now, do you think these are genuine concerns which government should look into?
Well, they are genuine concerns, but I also know that for any form of construction to have been embarked upon, there would have been an environmental assessment, impact assessment. So, to a large extent, I want to believe that had been part of the process of procurement, and it's also going to be part of the process of construction. So, it is a no-brainer, to even start questioning that kind of project on the basis of the EIA. So I am not directly involved in the processes, but I can assume conveniently that any experienced regulator, especially this time, as involved with the Ministry of Works, and an experienced contractor as the high-tech construction company that is responsible for delivering the project, I want to assume that a strong environmental assessment had been done, and that would have been imputed in the construction and the delivery of the project as it were.
Right. So a lot has been said about this project. You have the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi, who has publicly aired his own opinion on this, what he feels about this project. And you also have the presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And it's also very interesting for a lot of persons, simply because you have a PDP former senator, that's Muri Bruce, who has said, he has expressed surprise that despite the great potential benefits of this road, some disgruntled individuals are opposing this project. Now, what do you think the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar statement was aiming to achieve, or what do you think he was aiming to achieve with that statement?
Well, I think for Alhaji, who I prefer actually to call Waziri, because he's a person of a high office from his state in Adamawa. And of course, my expectation is that when somebody had occupied the office of the vice president, and is actually a Waziri is supposed to be a man of wisdom, and a chief advisor. But I am getting disappointed, every day with the kind of outturn the former vice president had positioned, the way he had positioned himself in the public space. The truth of the matter is that I think these individuals believe they are still playing politics. They believe that we are still in the campaign period. And to that extent, I am not giving them the benefit of doubt. I am not even treating their intervention with any form or modicum of respect, because it's not professional. It is simply mudslinging. I can't see any fundamental issue at play, especially the latest, where the former president would have to make reference to the son of the president, not as a sitting member or by directly or indirectly associated with high-tech, but to one far-flung company somewhere that you could not even track in the high-tech horizon, as it were. So I think there's a lot of desperation coming into play, and there's also an ignorance of the basic issue. Either there's an ignorance of the basic issue, or there's a deliberate effort, to distort everything beneficial about the project. What I know is that if Nigeria, as led by the current administration, has targeted a 1 trillion economy, which is good, which is an inspiring decision, an inspiring vision for the Nigerian state. If we have that kind of vision, these are the kind of projects that will open up the economy to be able to fulfill or achieve or accomplish, as it were, that kind of objective. So nobody had told us amongst these elements what exactly are the issues, in terms of the possibility of delivery. Because we have started, the project had been taken off the table. It is on site now. So what I want to hear are issues or limitations and challenges that is associated with the delivery of ongoing construction, as it were. It's funny when an individual who's supposed to be a leader in this country will come out and say, why embark on this kind of project when there are so many abandoned projects? And I ask, how many projects have been ongoing, since 2016 especially, which are being completed? Must every project be completed before another project is embarked on, especially one that has potentials for economic impartation on the generality of the Nigerian people? I want to imagine how many numbers of Nigerians along that corridor, that 700 kilometers corridor, that would be freed from poverty, that would actually move from 0 point to a near millionaire point. Because as this construction is ongoing, for every kilometer that is delivered, new opportunities are made available to the owners, the indigenes of that community, in terms of the value that accrues, to the landed asset. The land now becomes really commercial land.
But do you see the president completing this project?
The completion of the project is clear, is practical, because it is not just about transportation. It is not just about the movement of people, which is actually the major nuance associated with the delivery of a project. It is much more than that. Transportation, facilitating transportation of people and services, and in doing that, opening up new economic opportunities. In the project itself, if we sit down to calculate, how to estimate the assets that will be created from the project itself, it's worth more than $100 billion. Just to calculate it, the federal government owns 250 meters, of land, starting from the beach line inward. Now, just that 250 meters across 700 kilometers, it's a huge earning revenue opportunity for the federal government. So we are not even talking about the states. Each state along that line would have its own Victoria Island replicated, because we'll be talking about adjacency of land, to the beach. So in all those states, starting from Lagos to Ogun, to Ondo, to Edo, to Delta and all that, you have a replication of landed property that would look more like Ikoyi and Victoria Island. And that comes to about revenue and earnings. So to that extent, there is an inspiration, there is a drive, to deliver. So it's not just about commuting. It is about freeing up and creating opportunities.
All right. All right, then, as we wrap up tonight, it's almost a year of President Tinubu's administration. How do you assess the president's infrastructure plan for the country? How has the president fared so far?
Well, we would give the president the benefit of doubt. We'll be looking at 12 months. Any serious-minded analyst and critic would first want to review vision. There had been a strong expression of vision, and that's the most important thing, because without vision, you don't actually start building. So in our aggregation of the vision that have been expressed by the government, we can applaud, the government for what it is thinking, how it has started, the kind of policies that it had been put in place, and that those policies, as they evolve, would eventually, of course, deliver on the goods to the Nigerian people.
All right. Chief Akinsiju, Chairman, Independence Media and Policy Initiative. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Politics Tonight. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Thanks so much.